Hebrews 12:1. Pastor Brandon telling me that's your centerpiece sermon series scripture. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Let me just explain something to you about that. I'm from the South, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, but not everybody's going to be in that cloud. You know what? Not everybody's going to cheer you on. Did you notice I didn't say on, I said on? I tell you, it's a Southern coming out. So not everybody's going to cheer you on. Not everybody's going to be for you. I hate that, but not everybody's going to be for you. So let me tell you what the cloud of witnesses sometimes look like in the South. If you're transplanted from somewhere else, this is what the cloud looks like a little bit in the South. It includes mom and them. That's your mama and some of her friends and maybe a daddy, but you never say dad and them. It's always your mom and them. So the cloud will include your mom and them. See, the cloud will include the word y'all. See, y'all is plural. See, we might say y'all every now and then. Y'all is plural, and I've never really understand this coming from a Southern boy, but you all is plural, singular plural. So I don't get that one at all. I'm not an English teacher. So let me just tell you, get started. I want to introduce you to two things. I want to introduce you to myself. Now, Pastor Brandon and I, we talk a lot, and I love him. He's one of my, I promise you, we have a little bit of an age gap. We're a few years apart, but literally one of my best friends, one of my close friends. We talk all the time. And I want to introduce you to myself, and then I want to introduce you to my sermon, or the sermon title. My name is Steve Qualls. I pastor a church, Christ Point Church of Tennessee, in Sparta and Smithfield, Tennessee. We have two campuses. I graduated valedictorian. I was number one in my class. I was voted most likely to succeed by my classmates. I finished early from college with a perfect 4.0. I spent most of my early career being fast-tracked to the top of Fortune 500 companies. And let's just screech this thing to a halt real quick. There ain't none of that me. There's none of that. That is me. I'm the dyslexic, ADD, ADHD kid stuttering in the corner getting in trouble constantly. I did graduate maybe in the top 187 in my class. I don't know. I remember it had an 87. So, I stutter. I speak with a Southern drawl. People aren't really drawn, in my opinion. I had to fight this back. People aren't drawn, in my opinion, I kept thinking, people aren't drawn to the Southern drawl. People aren't drawn, and I compared myself to other people. See, at the age of 25, and I'm giving you my story, I was invited to church by my father's business partner. Now, we were standing knee deep in a ditch full of water, and we were repairing a water main break. See, because we were ditch diggers. That's what we were. We were ditch diggers. My dad had equipment, and we made our living on the seat of a John Deere. We were either pushing it, grading it, digging it, filling it. We were putting in a water line, gas line, a sewer line. Sometimes we had to dig up a sewer line. We won't talk about that one. But you know what? This is what I had to overcome in my life, was that dyslexic people, they can't read. See, stutterers, they will never be able to preach. Hyperactive kids, they can't focus without the riddling. Yeah. Ditch diggers can't pastor churches, but let me tell you something. You can't tell God that because he's not buying it. So I've introduced you a little bit to myself. Let me introduce you to my sermon. The sermon title today is Big Butts Can Lie. Y'all ain't never coming. Y'all just like, don't ever get this guy back here again. Yeah, he's from deep south. He's like, we're cultured up here in Kentucky. But let me explain. It's like, just pretend I'm Ricky and you're Lucy. We got some explaining to do. So let me explain it to you. Let me explain it to you just a little bit. When we use the word but in a sentence, we automatically cancel out everything that preceded it. So when we use the word but, we just kick to the side everything that was said good before that. Kind of like that little thing in Talladega Nights. Everything she said good, you just ruined it. So let me give you an example. My son is a good ball player, but he's too small. He'll never make the team. Well, you just canceled out everything that you said positive about your son. My parents are cool. My parents are cool people, but I don't really want to hang out with them. You know, they're not cool then, you know what I mean? You know, I would like to apply for that better job, but I just don't think I don't think I'm qualified to get it. So therefore, I just canceled out everything. So big butts can lie. I would like to be the first in my family to attend college, but I just don't think I can make it. I don't think I would pass. See, let me lay on some heavy stuff here. All of us have a but in our story. Every one of us have a but in our story. You know, we can't hide from it. We can't run from it. And I want to introduce you to one of the buts that was placed into my story. I sat in an office in August of 1998, and some of you are like, did they drive vehicles in 98? Yes, we did. Yeah, some of them were pretty nice too. You know, I sat in an office in 1998 with my pastor, who I was we were identical in every way except he looked like a dad to me. He looked like he was an old man. We were a year apart. My pastor and I, and my associate pastor, who was my mentor and also my father in the Lord, and the two greatest men I had ever met in my life. My heroes of the faith. They were my Hebrews chapter 11 men. They were the greatest men in my life. And I sat in an office, and 9 years of passionate ministry was done away with 9 seconds of spiritual terrorism. And I'm calling it spiritual terrorism. In 9 seconds. Now, you're going to sit there and you're going to think, I just don't think this is possible, but I'm going to tell you it is. In 9 seconds, 9 seconds of statement, a but was placed in the middle of my story. Let me tell you what happened. A finger was put in my face. And this is what was said. You are a joke. You are a joke. Now, you got to realize I'm pretty high strung right now, but you take 20 years off of that, and I was like, you know. So you are a joke. No one will ever take serious anything that you teach. No one will ever support or follow you as a pastor, and you are a product of what we made you. The finger was stuck in my face, and the thing that resonated was you are a joke. And this is what was in my mind. You've been successful in youth ministry, but you're the son of a ditch digger. You're just a ditch digger. And ditch diggers don't do this. Ditch diggers don't pastor. Ditch diggers don't youth pastor. We only youth pastored for 17 years, that's all. So let's pause just a minute and back it up, just bring it home. Let's pause just a minute. So I want you to think for a quick second. What's my but? What's the but in my life right now? What's the but that's been placed into my life? And don't think you don't have one, because you do. Don't think you don't have one, so let it resonate. You know, I could have been a good whatever. You know what? I have a hard time being loved, but my mother was such a terrible parent. You know what? I would love to work and to be active at the church at RLC, but I used to be on drugs. I would like to be powerful, and I would like to be able to be used by the Lord, but I was divorced before. You know what? There's always, whatever your but is, think about it. And there's 2 ways a but gets placed into our story. There's 2 ways a but gets placed and written into our story, and one is we write it in ourselves. We just come right out of our head and we write right in there, but I can't do it. And the other one is we allow somebody else to write the but into our story. So, in an office in 1998, a but was inserted into our story, and I've had to carry that but for this entire 21 years. I've had to carry it, and I've had to push it down. In 9 seconds, we lost our pastor. We lost our mentor. We lost our associate pastor. We lost our ministry. Every friend that we had. We lost our church, and we lost our confidence because of 9 seconds of statement, and in 9 seconds, we became orphans in that fast of a fashion. So, what do we do with the buts? What do we do with the buts? What are you going to do with the but that's in your story? Because I'm going to tell you something. If you allow it to stay there, it will negate everything that comes behind it. Everything that follows. You just canceled out everything good. So what are we going to do with the but? Because you've got one in your story, and it's part of your story, and it's part of your life, and it's part of my life. Will we let it defeat us? because it can, and that's what it wants to do? Will we let it cripple us because it can, and that's what it wants to do? Will we let it terrorize us, and it will do that over and over and over? But will we use it to defeat the enemy? See, that's the question. Will we use it to defeat the enemy? So you're thinking, is he ever going to go to Scripture? Let's do that right now. Judges chapter 11, verse 1. I want to read this for you. Now, if you're not familiar with Old Testament, I just kind of dig it. So if you're not familiar with Old Testament, then this may be new to you. If not, then it may not. But now, the word, it starts out now, Jephthah. Jephthah was one of the judges. Judges chapter 11, verse 1. Now Jephthah, the Gileadite, was a mighty warrior. Man, I'm going to tell you what, we can stop right there. How would you like to be introduced as a mighty warrior, ladies and gentlemen? Pastor Brandon, RLC, a mighty warrior! And you know what? That's cool. You give me that all day long. But there's, we don't want the but in there. We just want the mighty warrior. See, but we got to wait a minute. If we keep reading in verse 1, Jephthah, the Gileadite, was a mighty warrior, but, see, there it is, right in, I read the ESV, right in the ESV version, bang, but he was the son of a prostitute. Man, everything good we just said about dude is just canceled out. Boom, he was the son of a prostitute. See, sometimes it doesn't matter how many call us mighty. All we seem to hear is the ones who call us not mighty. It doesn't matter how many call us mighty. All we seem to hear is the but that's stuck in the story. But he's the son of a prostitute, a mighty warrior. See, prostitute sons don't lead in battle. Yeah, and ditch diggers don't pastor churches. And let's move on. See, Gilead had more sons with his wife, and his wife was not a prostitute. Gilead had an affair with a prostitute, and he had a son named Jephthah, but he and his wife had other sons. So this is what happens when you have other people that come into your story and allow them to place a but in your story. Mighty warriors are easily pushed out when they have a but placed in the middle of their story. And Jephthah had one. Didn't matter how mighty he was. And I'm thinking mighty big time because the Lord makes sure it's put in the word for us and we read it, how mighty he was. See, the brothers hated Jephthah, they feared him, and they pushed him out. Chapter 11, you can read about it. See, the devil fights hardest where he fears most. Now, I want to say that again. If you take anything away today, take this. The devil fights hardest where he fears most. Well, why am I getting beat up? Because he's scared to death of you. That's why. He's scared to death of you. Why does he fight the children's ministry at every church that I can think of? Because he's scared to death of every child, because every child is radical or either going to be or is radical for Jesus or can be. See, the enemy knows that in our weakness he is made strong, or he is strong. So in our weakness, he is strong. He knows that weakness is a sign that God can do powerful things. So he fights hardest where he fears most. See, you have a but in your story. I got one in my story. See, the devil's scared to death of it. Because of your but, people will hate you. People's going to hate you. They hated Jephthah. They're going to hate you. Some probably will be afraid of you. People are afraid of what they don't know. People are afraid of the unknown or what they can't see. So they're probably going to be afraid of you, and they definitely will try to push you out. Because it's uncomfortable. And when we're uncomfortable, we push what's uncomfortable out. So Jephthah got pushed out because it was uncomfortable. You're not part of us. He got a finger stuck in his face. Early on in chapter 11, he got a finger stuck in his face and said, you're not one of our brothers. You get out of here. You get out of here. See, in verse 3, he fled. He goes to a place. It's a place called Tob or Tob. I don't know how we would exactly pronounce it. But in verse 3, this is what happens. This is a natural progression. He gravitated to worthless fellows. The word says literally, worthless fellows collected around him. He gravitated to worthless people in a place that was not his home. Jephthah had a but and his own 9 seconds of spiritual terrorism placed into his life. See, this is the natural progression. Gravitate down to the wrong crowd. I watched my son do that. I watched my son do that when he was in school. He asked the question, Dad, Mom, am I dumb? What do you mean? I can't read. I can't. He was dyslexic, severely dyslexic, even to this day. He gravitated to the wrong crowd. He gravitated to the people. These aren't always bad people. They're just bad people for us. Let me give you an example. Recovering addict. Okay, here's a good idea. Don't hang out with the drug dealers. That ain't going to work good for you. You know, healed and recovered alcoholic. Here's a good idea. Don't go to the bar. That's not a good place for you to go to. Struggling marriages. Oh my gosh. You know what? Tina and I have done everything together our whole lives almost. I'm not so sure we're not brother and sister. You know, State Tennessee still recognizes it. But we've done everything together. We're just right there. Everything. And I'm going to tell you, we've taught marriage classes and we have walked with married couples. Marriages, let me tell you something. That one of the opposite sex that you work with that seems to understand everything that you're going through. Yeah, my husband or my wife does the same thing. Let me tell you what, she's the devil. Run from her or him. Run, because, hang on, cultivate the relationship that you have with the person that God has given you. Not that other person. So run from those kinds of things. So let me get back to 20 years. 20 years ago, 1998. Let me just bring that up to speed. 20 years later, in 2018, we launched a second Christ Point campus. Our church is called Christ Point Church of Tennessee, and we launched a second campus. We did everything wrong that you could possibly do, but God knew what He was doing. The familiar finger, September 23rd to be exact, the familiar finger came out and was stuck in our face again. 20 years later, and 20 years and 1 month later, the finger was stuck in our face, and another 9 seconds of terrorism tried to make its platform. See, this is what was said. You will not have church here. This time, that head was doing this. The other time it was just kind of across the table, but this time the head was doing this. You will not have church here. You will not be welcomed in this town. No one will come. Good luck having church with no one in it. So you got to realize, you could take both of our towns and you could set them in the edge of Bowling Green, and you still, we got this many people, so it's little. We're between the trash can and the trash can. If you blink, you miss them, both of them. Very, very, very traditional spirit. You won't have church, or good luck having church with no one in it. See, it took 9 seconds and a second finger wave to try to place another but into our story, but this time we were wise to it. This time you're not catching us off guard. We were fresh out of the gate back in 98. We were young warriors back in 98. This time, it hurt really bad. It was a bad blow. It was a tough blow, but you know what? Devil, you're not rising up against us this time. This is what we could have said. Well, we gave it a whirl, but it didn't work. Finger said it won't work. We didn't do that. We lost 100 people in an hour. I think it's more like 125. We lost 100 people in an hour from our church. The next week, God changed the vernacular. God changed the culture of the but. God inserted His own statement but into our story. See, you will not have church here. No one will show up, but one guy did. Not 30, not 50, one guy did. We sent a team down there and we said, we're going to have church. So we sent a team down there. It's about 25 miles from our main campus, and one guy showed up there. We could have just done that there and invited him over. One guy showed up. That one guy was more powerful than 100. But one guy did more for us than 100 could have done. That one guy came to the altar and he gave his life to the Lord. And God said through that one guy, you do have a place here. Don't let somebody stick a butt into your story. This is where I've placed you, and I'm not letting you go from here because I want you here. And now move forward and be enjoying what God is doing. Why did that guy not come any other time? When we had a very volatile situation, because God waited for him to come that day. See, Jephthah was an outcast and he was rejected. But there's something inside that said, there's more. There's more. So you've got a but in your life. You got a but in your story. So what? So what you're in good company. Mark chapter 6, Jesus himself has a but in his story, and he walks into his own hometown in verse 1 and verse 2, and he begins to speak, and people are marveled. They're just excited, and they're wild. The word says literally that they're wild. They are blown away and astounded that the power that could come from this man, and then all of a sudden, bang, we got the but placed in there in verse 3. Verse 3, Jesus himself in verse 3. Here comes the but. Isn't this just the carpenter's son? But isn't this just the carpenter's son? See, I have to live with that. I pastor in my hometown. I terrorized that place, man. I'm telling you. I was mean, mischievous. There's still people in my life that some of them are dead and gone. This is what they say. I won't come to that church because of that fake preacher. They call me a fake preacher because they remember what I did 40 years ago. You know, I don't get it. But, you know, I can't let that bother me. Jesus, isn't this just the carpenter? But we don't know. We know his brothers and his sisters. But we know his sister. But this is the carpenter's son. Carpenters can't be messiahs. We thought we were there for a second, but somebody said, hey, Jesus, that's Joseph's son. That's Mary's son. See, but people remember. And when people remember, they can't, when they remember the ordinary, they can't think about the extraordinary. But women can't lead. Let me jump on that one real quick. Women can't lead. Well, you better not come to our church, because it's going to be a sad day for you if you come to our church and you think women can't lead. You know, prostitutes can't serve. From what I understand, I haven't dove in real deep, but we may have 2 former prostitutes serving in our church right now. Maybe, I'm not sure. See, people can't serve if they have a but in their life. Yeah, and ditch diggers can't pastor churches. They can't cast vision. They can't disciple people. See, God don't see it that way. So I want to land this plane. Let's drive it right on in. Let's land it. Let's get going here, and let's finish up. I don't want to leave you outside. And Tina laughs about this all the time, her and some of our friends at church. You know, when I talk, I'll say, well, it's in my book. Say, well, it's in my book. It's in my book. The rest of the story's in my book. But Jephthah, you know, I don't want to leave you outside on Jephthah. Jephthah did lead his people. He did make a deal. The brothers came calling, and the brothers said, we've got a situation, and we're going to be pretty much killed. We want you to go to battle and lead us. Wait a minute. You kicked me out. You stuck a finger in my face. You told me how bad I was. You told me I was worthless, and now you want me to come back? This is my condition. I love the way he says, if I come back, battle or not, I'm leading you, right? Yes, as God is our witness, you are our leader. I just like to be on the outside of him looking around and saying, yeah, didn't this thing come full circle real fast? Yeah, you kicked me out because my mama wasn't your mama. You kicked me out because my mama might have been a prostitute, but now I'm leading you guys. So he goes into leadership mode. And he is the catalyst for great victory. And he did return home as a prostitute's son. So I just want you to just get this in your head. The but don't go away. Just because Jephthah became the leader doesn't mean he didn't have the but still there. Jephthah, the leader, the powerful warrior, but he's still the son of a prostitute. That didn't go away. Our second campus today, I don't want to leave you in a lurch there. I don't want to leave you question. It's still growing. It's still growing. People are coming. Visitors are coming every Sunday morning. We started with 0 people on October 1st. And there was 78 in attendance at that second service at Easter. 78. No, that was Mother's Day. I'm sorry, Mother's Day. See, Jephthah moved on. But he carried the but with him. Couldn't get away from it. Jesus moved on, still had a but in his story. Jesus, powerful, healing people, speaking life into people, but he couldn't do it where he lived. People wouldn't allow it. See, we moved on. But we still carry a but that's in our story, and we don't let it defeat us. We use it to conquer Satan. That's what we do. We step on him every single day. Every day. See, my dad's business partner, he took a chance. He took a chance on me in a ditch, standing knee-deep in muddy water. He's the only person. Now, I want to tell you something. I want to challenge you to invite somebody. Because I'm going to tell you, one man standing in a ditch invited me to church. The only person that ever invited me to church. The only person that ever invited me to church. I cannot count. Now, I'm not saying it's about me. I'm just saying the catalyst and the way that God uses us. I can't count how many people I've prayed with. I don't know how many people are in ministry that came up under us. I don't know how many pastors, missionaries, all because one man saw something in somebody that nobody else did. A wild Mustang in a ditch full of water. I mean, I didn't grow up in church either. So I had no history, no foundation whatsoever. One person took an investment into my salvation and thought it was worth it, not once, but over and over and over until I came to his church. Where did I go to church? I went to the church where I was invited. That's what happened. His name was Charles. Charles looked past my butt. He's been dead about 12 years now. He looked past my butt because he knew that God had looked past his. So that's what makes a difference. Now let's go back to Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore, we got that cloud of witnesses. Not everybody's going to be in that cloud. Not everybody wants you to succeed. The cloud does, but not everybody's in the cloud. Not everybody is excited about your story. See, not everyone will make the cloud. Not everyone will cheer you on. Not everyone will accept the but that has been placed into your story. They can't get past it. But I'm going to tell you something. If you would do me a favor, I'd appreciate it. Would you stand with me real fast? And can I just keep going, finish this up? I want you to stand with me. I want you to bow your heads and close your eyes. And I want to challenge you to a thought. What's the but that's been placed into your story? Because those people aren't cheering us on. Is it, I can't get past what my father did to me? I can't get past who I was when I was raised. I can't get past what I did in my relationship. I can't get past the cheating that I did. I can't get past who I used to be. I can't get past the divorces that I have had. I can't get past these things, the addictions, the alcohol. I can't get past them. They're butts that are placed and they're not that big. A guy stood, and I want to take just a second, and I want to invite you to the altar. There was a guy stood in our foyer last week. And he said, I don't know what to do. And I called one of our guitar players. That guitar player came to me about 3 months ago and said, I was sexually abused for 6 years of my life as a kid, and I'm ready to forgive. I'm now ready to forgive. And I hooked him up. You think you hate? He said, this young man standing in the foyer said, I can't get hate. I said, this man has every right to hate. I want you to talk to him because he's went from hate to forgiveness. He's not letting the but dictate his life anymore. So I want to ask you, with your heads bowed and your eyes closed, do you know Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior? Because we're in the ditch right now. This is the ditch, and I'm asking you, standing knee-deep in water, do you know the Lord? Because if you don't, I want you to pray a prayer with me out loud.
Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the message today and God spoke to you in a special way. And if you did enjoy this message, please consider subscribing, also liking the content as well as sharing with other people. If we can ever do anything for you, please visit our website, experiencerlc.com, or email us at info@experiencerlc.com.